Hi, and thank you for joining me today. I am Mr. Mendoza, and I hope that you enjoy this reading of Yeh Shen, Cinderella Chinese Story. In this story, you'll see task. Please take the time to read the actual sentence. Glimmering, served, content, worn, overjoyed, concealed, and valuable. In every story, there is a sequence of events. You can tell what happened first, next, and last. People have been telling traditional stories for many years. One kind of traditional story is a fairy tale. Fairy tales tell about events that could not happen in real life. The story often teaches a lesson. Fairy tales usually have a happy ending. You'll read a fairy tale about a young girl in Yeh Shen. Think about fairy tales you have heard before and discuss your favorites with someone around you. Take turns speaking. Meet the illustrator. For that, again, a fairy tale is a make-believe story that has been told for many years. You look for characters who would not exist in real life and a happy ending. Kings and queens are also part of a fairy tale. Jill Dubbin. Jill Dubbin always loved art, even as a child. She and her sister used to spend hours making dolls out of paper. Miss Dubbin used paper to make the pictures for Yeh Shen. First, she sketched each picture. Next, she picked pieces of paper with different colors and patterns. She cut out pieces of the paper and placed them onto the sketches. The backgrounds and the characters' clothes are all different pieces of paper glued together. Yeh Shen by Gina Sabella, illustrated by Jill Dubbin. What can you learn from reading a fairy tale, especially one that you've never read before, from a culture that you probably have never read before either? Yeh Shen was a girl who grew up in China a long time ago. Her mother and father had died, so she lived with her mean stepmother, Jin, and her stepsisters, Jun Li. They lived in a cave. Also, just one stepmother, one stepsister. Every time Jin looked at Yeh Shen, she became angry. Yeh Shen was gentler and kinder than Jin's own daughter, Jun Li. Yeh Shen was also a hard worker. Jun Li was spoiled and lazy. Jin gave Yeh Shen only rags to wear. She gave her long lists of chores to do. When Yeh Shen finished one task, Jin added three more to the list. Now, the only difference here is that what? How many daughters were there in the actual Cinderella story? You remember that? We'll figure that one out later. Yeh Shen was always busy working. She did not have a chance to make many friends, but she did have one very special friend. This friend had golden eyes, glimmering scales, and a big, beautiful tail. It was a fish that lived in the pond. Every day, Yeh Shen stopped by the pond and shared some crumbs with the fish. Every day, the fish popped up to greet its friend. Yeh Shen's stepmother saw this and became furious. She didn't want Yeh Shen to have any friends, not even a fish. One day, Jin caught the fish and cooked it for dinner. Now, that's quite a wretched stepmother there. Remember in the old Cinderella stories, if you remember, she had mice as friends and animals as friends. Here she has a fish, but her mama said, I'm cooking this thing, I'm hungry. Yeh Shen cried when she saw her friend served for dinner. She ran out of the cave and sat by the pond. What's the matter? An old man asked her. Yeh Shen told him about her friend, the fish. Then she told him what her stepmother had done. Listen carefully to me, the old man said. The bones of that fish hold special powers. Take the bones and bury them in 4 pots. Put one pot at each corner of your bed. Whenever you need help, tell the bones what you need. They will make your every wish come true. Oh, the old man. There's an old man on this, not a fairy godmother. An old man is telling her what to do with the fish. And those bones that she buried will do what? Look for it. They will do something for her. What will they do? Yeh Shen followed the old man's directions. When she got back to the cave, she buried the bones in 4 pots. Then she put the pots by the corners of her bed. She did not have anything to ask for yet, but she felt content, knowing that her friend was close by. What does it mean to be content if she knew that her friend was close by? Was she sad? Was she happy? Was she angry? Was she sad? Was she mad? What does it mean? A few weeks later, the spring festival arrived. At the festival, young men and women could meet. They hoped to fall in love and marry. Ooh, there's a festival, and not a ball. Jin didn't want to ruin Jin Li's chances of finding a husband, so she ordered Yeh Shen to stay home and clean. Then she and Jin Li went to the festival. Does a stepmother treat Jin Li and Yeh Shen in the same way? Explain your answer using the text evidence. How does the stepmother treat Jin Li? Jin Li is a stepsister, and this is Yeh Shen. How does she treat them? Does she treat them alike or differently? Compare and contrast them. Yeh Shen did not want to stay home and clean. For the first time since she buried the bones, she had a wish. I wish I had beautiful clothes, she said to the bones. I wish I could go to the festival. I wish I could be like all the other girls. The fairy godmother was the one that she was granting wishes to. Now it's the fish bones. As soon as Yeh Shen said the words, something amazing happened. She was covered in the finest clothes from head to toe. Her old worn shoes were replaced by a pair of slippers made from silk. Oh, how can you contrast what Cinderella had in comparison to Yeh Shen? It says it in the book. What kind of slippers? Yeh Shen was overjoyed and grateful for the gifts from her friend. She ran off happily to the festival. If she's overjoyed, she is what? She has a whole lot of joy in her. If she is grateful, she is also full of great, or she is very happy. Think about it. She ran off happily to the festival. Oh, she's happy. Overjoyed and grateful are the same. She ran off happily to the festival. Everyone at the festival stopped to stare at Yeh Shen when she walked in. Who was this beautiful girl in the same magnificent clothes? Yeh Shen had a wonderful time at the festival, but she was worried that her stepmother would notice her. She decided to hurry home, but she ran so fast that one of her silk slippers fell off. It lay in the middle of the road. It was the only sign that Yeh Shen had visited the festival. Same thing, isn't it? Think about the similarities between both of these things. From Yeh Shen and Cinderella. At home, Yeh Shen stuffed her new clothes into the pots. She concealed her one silk slipper too. She changed into her rags and waited for her stepmother to return. Isn't that similarity between both stories? Meanwhile, a traveler found the silk slipper on the road. A traveler found the silk slipper. In Cinderella, who found the slipper? Who found Cinderella's slipper? Think about that one. He knew it was valuable, so he gave it to the king. The king was curious to find the owner of the slipper, so he had his men build a hut. The king didn't go from one house to another. He had his men build a hut. Why? I wonder why. Anyone could come to his hut to try on the silk slipper. Yeh Shen heard about the hut. She wanted her slipper back, so she sneaked out of the cave one night and ran quietly to the hut. As she crept toward the slipper, the king's men grabbed her. The king took one look at Yeh Shen's rags and thought she was a thief. They judged her for how she looked. You shouldn't judge anybody for how they look. You never know how awesome of a person they'll be. Yeh Shen looked up at the king. Her eyes were filled with tears. The king saw how gentle and kind she was. He listened to her words. Please, I will show you the other slipper, Yeh Shen whispered to the king. Yeh Shen led the king to her home. She put on the matching silk slipper and her fine clothes. The king knew that he wanted to marry her. However, he was angry at how Jin and Jun Li had treated Yeh Shen. He told them never to come to his castle, so they stayed in their cave for the rest of their lives. Oh, same ending, kind of same ending. She got married to the king. In the other one, she got married to a prince or a king also. But I think she forgave. I guess we'll have to read the other Cinderella story to truly understand how to compare and contrast both of these stories. Sequence of events. That's what I want you to write about. I want you to write about this story right now. Take a moment and just write about it. What happened to Yeh Shen in the beginning, middle, and the end? Tell me everything that you know of. And her best friend, what happened to her best friend, and how did her best friend end up helping her, and who told her that her best friend was going to help her? Where did she go to? Where did she want to go to? Who did she wish? Who granted her her wishes? What happened in the end? Tell me everything about the story. Remember the sequence of events. Tell me everything. What happened first, next, and last. In the end, you're going to be able to compare and contrast the next story to this story. When you read a story, you can compare and contrast. When you compare and contrast, you tell how things are alike, you compare them, and different. One story is this, says this, the other story says this. That's contrast, differences. As you read Yeh Shen, you can compare and contrast how the character look, think, and act. You can also compare and contrast to see how the characters change in the story. This will help you see how the characters respond to the story events and can help you understand more about them. Thank you for joining us for this part of the story. Hope that you enjoy. I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, thank you, and look forward to the next one. I am going to record two other Cinderella renditions if I find a second one. I already have another one to share with you.